Renaissance era. The Renaissance was a fervent period of European cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth following the Middle Ages, generally described as taking place from the 14th century to the 17th century. The Renaissance promoted the rediscovery of classical philosophy, literature, and art. Some of the greatest thinkers, authors, statesmen, scientists, and artists in human history thrived during this era, while global exploration opened up new lands and cultures to European commerce. The Renaissance is credited with bridging the gap between the Middle Age and modern day civilization. Darkness to light. The Renaissance begins during the Middle Ages, a period that took place between the fall of ancient Rome in 476 AD and the beginning of the 14th century. Europeans made few advances in science and art, also known as the Dark Ages. The era is often branded as a time of war, ignorance, famine, and pandemics such as Black Death. Some historians, however, believe that such grim depictions of the Middle Ages were greatly exaggerated, though many agree that there was a relatively little regard for ancient Greek, Roman philosophers and learning at the time.
Humanism. During the 14th century, a cultural movement called Humanism began to gain momentum in Italy. Among its many principles, Humanism promoted the idea that man was center of his own universe, that people should embrace human achievements in education, classical arts, literature, and science. In 1450, the invention of the Gutenberg printing press allowed for improved communication throughout Europe and for ideas to spread more quickly. As a result of this advance in communication, little-known texts from early humanist authors such as those by Francisco Petrarch and Giovanni Boccaccio, which promoted the renewal of traditional Greek and Roman culture and values, were printed and distributed to the masses. Additionally, many scholars believe advances in international finance and trade impacted culture in Europe and set the stage for the Renaissance. Medici family. The Renaissance started in Florence, Italy, a place with a rich cultural history where wealthy citizens could afford to support budding artists. Members of the powerful Medici family, which ruled Florence for more than 60 years, were famous backers of the movement. Great Italian writers, artists, politicians, and others declared that they were participating in an intellectual and artistic revolution that would be much different from what they experienced during the Dark Ages. Renaissance geniuses. Some of the most famous and groundbreaking Renaissance intellectuals, artists, scientists, and writers are Leonardo da Vinci, Desiderius Erasmus, René Descartes, Galileo, Nicolaus Copernicus, Thomas Hobbes, and Geoffrey Chaucer.
Renaissance art, architecture, and science. Art, architecture, and science were closely linked during the Renaissance. In fact, it was a unique time when these fields of study fused together seamlessly. Architects such as Filippo Brunelleschi studied mathematics to accurately engineer and design immense buildings with expansive domes. End of the Renaissance. With the end of 15th century, numerous wars have plagued the Italian peninsula. Spanish, French, and German invaders battling for Italian territories caused disruption and instability in the region. Also, changing the trade routes led to a period of economic decline and limited the amount of money that wealthy contributors could spend on the arts. Later, in a movement known as the Counter-Reformation, the Catholic Church censored artists and writers in response to the Protestant Reformation. Many Renaissance thinkers feared being too bold, which stifled creativity. Furthermore, in 1545, the Council of Trent established the Roman Inquisition, which made humanism and any views that challenged the Catholic Church, an act of heresy punishable by death. By the early 17th century, the Renaissance movement had died out, giving way to the Age of Enlightenment.